We're gonna move on to the NBA right now. And listen, man, I got a smile on my face, you know. I hope that smile stays there. Okay, we're gonna talk about Ja Morant here, who returned last night from his 25 game suspension, and he sinks the Grizzlies game winner at the buzzer, okay, to defeat the Pelicans. So the question that we have right now: are we confident that Ja Morant can save the Grizzlies season? And Zay, the mic is yours once more.
It's tough because I mean I think they still have a lot. You have so many games left in the season. You could definitely save the season. I think John Morant, he's a difference maker on the floor. He's a guy who's a dominant scorer, something that the Grizzlies were desperately missing. A leader on the floor, somebody the Grizzlies were definitely missing, and somebody who takes the brunt of the offense and he's instant offense on the floor. I think his ability to not only create for himself but create havoc on the court because you can't guard them one-on-one. You can't leave a big in the paint by themselves to defend. Allow shooters to be wide open. This is the difference maker for the Grizzlies to get them more open shots, to get them more easier looks with the addition of Ja Morant on the floor. So I think for me, you could absolutely save the season with Ja Morant. When you look at the Western standings, the Suns right now are 10th seed at 14 and 13. So if we're talking about having to win a couple more games to get to our 10th seed, I believe they can make it there. I think they could go on a great run and make it there. So I think for me, Ja Morant had a fantastic fourth quarter. They were down 19. They were down 60-41 at one point in the game, and they was able to fight back through adversity. Give the ball to Ja Morant in a fourth quarter and let him work. Desmond Bane had a great game. He gets overlooked a lot, but he's a great player. And then when he plays next to Ja Morant, he's an excellent player. And I think that's something that we have to start giving him praise for. But the Grizzlies, they had a tumultuous season. They had a lot of issues, not only with injuries, but on an identity, on what they wanted to do with Ja Morant out. And now that he has returned, when Marcus Smart returns from his injury, this team's going to look a lot more scarier than what it was looking like in the beginning of the season. So I think they'll make a great run to end the season. And I think they'll be in that playoff contention for that 6th seed, let alone the 10th. So I think that's something that a lot of fans who watch the game, who love John Morant's game, should be looking forward to.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, he was able to get past defenders with his explosiveness, his ability to seek contact and still finish at the rim. That was something that, I was, refreshed on, not seeing him for a minute. You kind of got back that Ja Morant experience. And before I even proceed, I want to say that not only is Ja Morant back, but the NBA is back with all due respect. And it's funny that my guy Kenny brought up Steph Curry because Steph Curry right now is the face of the NBA. But we have to realize that Ja Morant is right there. Like they trying to make him the second face of the NBA to take that baton from Steph Curry. And the fact that he was, getting into all the stuff that he got into, it kind of was a hard proposition by Adam Silver because you can't have that painted image of Ja Wick. We need Ja Morant, not Ja Wick. And I thought that last night we got Ja Morant, and the NBA should be stoked about that as long as he can stay clear of all the, whatever, the thug stuff, the thug life, right? We can stay away from the thug life, and he could be, I don't want to see him like Tupac, bro. Tupac had talent. Okay, my guy was gonna be the biggest star in America. He was right there. Like Ja Morant could be the biggest star in the NBA. He's right there. I don't want to see him lose that. So hopefully he stays clear and continue to play. I thought that he did look a little bit rusty in the first half, but in the second half he was able to, get in sync with his teammates. His teammates was able to get in sync with him. The last play of the game, literally with the game buzzer at the end, he was able to get past one of the best perimeter defenders in the league in Herb Jones, and he was able to, attack the Pelicans players. He was able to attack, Zion Williamson on a pick and roll and then finish and lob the ball up to his teammate, Jaren Jackson over, Jonas Valanciunas right there. Just able to attack, the defenders. And listen, it's hard to guard a guy like that, that's obviously constantly attacking the rim and just you got to stay in front of this guy. And Zion Williamson and Ja Morant, we talked about that matchup. These were the former number 1 and 2 overall picks of the 2019 draft class, and we saw the impact there. I'm not saying that Zion is not an impact player, but we saw that the Pelicans went on a run. I forgot what it was. I think it was a 28-2 run with Zion on the bench because he was in foul trouble. But we saw when the Grizzlies was able to come back, it was because Ja Morant was on the floor. And he had that massive third quarter and fourth quarter where he had about, 26 of his or something like that. He had like a lot of points in that second half of the game. And we saw the differences between those two guys, at least in that game in particular. And that's why it's good to have a guy like Ja Morant back. As far as the question is concerned, can he save the season? Look, we talking about the NBA here. It's 82 games. Literally, it's 2 seasons in one. So that's what you get in a season like that. Last year, the last 2 years, they averaged 53.5 wins per season in the regular season. It was a very good regular season team the last 2 years. And I think they can obviously turn it around, not into that, same thing. Obviously, they have a lot of ground to cover, but they can turn it around and make the playing game at the very least. And I think that's partly in due and largely in due to Ja Morant and what he's capable of. It doesn't help when you lose Brandon Clark and Steven Adams. Obviously, that's going to affect them come playoff time. But Ja Morant is definitely here to at least stir the ship and get them going in the right direction.
For sure. I think shout out to Kenny again because he did bring up a good point. Steph had a fantastic fourth quarter. They won in overtime. They had a good overtime as well. But everything got overdrawn once Ja Morant hit that game winner. That was really his return game, his debut of the season on the road against a tough Pelicans team that's fully healthy, ready to go. And we always talk about how the Pelicans, when they're fully healthier, they're a very destructive team. And we saw Brandon Ingram go off a 34, but Ja Morant was just taking over in that fourth. And he really just changed the narrative of what this Grizzlies season can look like moving forward. Steph Curry, the Warriors, they're having their own woes, but he had a fantastic game last night. He looked very prime-esque. And when Curry was in his prime, and he looked great. But right now we're talking about Ja Morant and the Grizzlies, and that's going to be a team in the West that's going to be really daunting to play against, even for those Golden State Warriors who are also having their own identity crisis out there. And that's something we'll talk about down the road. But it's going to be interesting what happens moving forward with this Grizzlies team with Ja Morant back. Then Marcus Smart comes back. So once everybody's fully once everyone's semi-healthy with the Grizzlies, with the guards returning, we're going to see what this team can really do. And I think that's something that's exciting to talk about.
Couple more questions before we move on that I want to throw out there for you to answer and for anybody in the comments watching. Kenny, you can answer as well. When you talk about Ja Morant and I would call it a layoff, right? Because he was suspended, 25 games. He has a knack of being, quote unquote, injury prone, right? Do you think that this could actually propel him to have one of his best finishes of the year based on him not taking all that punishment? We know his style could lead to a lot of injuries as well. The D Rose thing that I'm talking about here, when you put a lot of twerk on your legs and your body and all of that and all the contact that he takes going to the rim. Do you think it actually will help Ja Morant kind of really just take off into a whole nother level at the second half of the season?
I think it's gonna be tough. I think with him missing 25 games, it kind of takes a step back in his conditioning of the game, running up and down the court for the full season. I think he'll it'll take him a little bit longer to get acclimated into the NBA style now because everything right this year is more fast break oriented. So I think it's gonna take him a little bit longer to get just his body, his legs under him and getting his shot going late in the games and stuff. So I think for me, he won't be as prone to injury this season as opposed to the previous seasons. But I think he won't be as ready, prime ready Ja as he usually is. Like a guy who's in mid-season form. I think he's gonna take a little bit longer to get there.
Yeah, I agree. I think the conditioning will have to catch up with him. But once the conditioning catches up with him, then I think, he will definitely take off from there. And my last point in my last sentence really is that, when you talk about the Grizzlies trying to turn their season around, the NBA in general is about runs in game and game to game. And we saw the run in game where they was trailing about 21 points or something like that. They were getting blown out the gym. And then we saw the adjustments made and how they were able to win the game at the end. But I think when you look at their schedule and the ground that they have to make up game to game, it's about runs, and they can go on a little streak if they get in sync with each other and Ja Morant gets his conditioning to meet up with his physical abilities and his talent. And I'll leave it there.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.